This is a story about an incident at my elementary school, St. Thomas Aquinas. I think we were in the seventh grade. We had a great class. It was filled with wonderful characters. This particular day was toward the end of the school year, and I remember it was hot. It was after lunch, and we had had a substitute sister all morning, Sister Mercedes. She was an older nun, no-nonsense nun. We knew that Sister Mercedes wore a hearing aid, for she had been fiddling with it most of the morning. And in the heat of the afternoon, Sister Mercedes started her history lesson.
Who was the third president of the United States?
A few hands shot up, mostly girls, of course. Janice Ballard, Kathleen Arnold, Mary Ann Clapp, all girls who were good students. But Sister Mercedes had her eyes on other game.
Charles Hayde. Who was the third president of the United States?
Charlie Hayde slowly awoke from his dreams of Michelangelo and his current girlfriend. He looked quizzically at Sister Mercedes and stood. Suddenly inspired, he whispered the answer. His answer was inaudible.
Speak up, please, Charles.
Sister Mercedes was not going to be taken in by this known smart aleck. Charles silently mouthed it again. The class was now on alert. She quickly scanned the room again.
Mary Ann Carmody, who was the third president of the United States?
Mary Ann, or Mac as she was commonly known, rose. All eyes turned toward her. The room was now quiet. Mac was a good student, a straight A student, and was very popular. She could feel the pressure. Mary Ann Carmody answered the question without making a sound. Her lips moved, but no voice was heard. Sister Mercedes looked over the room. She reached under her whipple and turned up her hearing aid. Not one to give up, Sister Mercedes kept calling.
Kathleen Arnold. Who was the third president of the United States?
Kathleen, another good student, stood eyes down and silently, without a sound, answered the question. The class squirmed with glee. Sister Mercedes was now constantly turning up her hearing aid and calling on students.
Barbara Manning, Betty May Caveney, Carolyn Thomas, Diane Doolittle.
She kept calling and adjusting her hearing aid.
Janice Ballard, Mary Nam, Larry Snow.
But not a sound was heard from one of the students she called upon. She kept trying.
Pat Mahoney, Mike Luddy, Mildred Cardosa.
In the back of our classroom, one of our more notorious classmates had his hand enthusiastically waving in the air. This in itself was very unusual. Sister Mercedes turned and disdainfully looked and called out,
Herbert Olmeyer. Who was the third president of the United States?
Herbie leapt to his feet and bellowed at the top of his lungs,
Thomas Jefferson!
Sister Mercedes' hands flew to her ears, ashen, wavering, mumbling. She stumbled to the door. The classroom erupted. It was a moment of total pandemonium. It wasn't but another moment that Mother St. Charles, our school's principal, flew into our classroom spitting fire. The final weeks of our school year, the afternoons at least, were spent at detention. But the legendary story of Sister Mercedes was silently mouthed into our collective memories. I'm George Fry, and that's my story of our class and Sister Mercedes.